Most Native American Indians were forced to live on reservations managed by the U.S. government. Many people have misconceptions of them. They were extremely crowded, they were unclean, so lots of diseases were spreaded, and they had poor living conditions. Because the immigrated people took the Native Americans' land, people advertised Native Americans' land for sale as if Native Americans were animals. There were over 10 million Native Americans living in U.S. territory before explorers came, and after, there were less than 3,000. The men and women had to do hard labor for countless hours. At the same time, they were only being fed scraps of food. This was not healthy for their bodies. People did awful things to get rid of Native Americans. They abused, hit, and burned them. One of the most famous ways used to get rid of Native Americans was the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears was in 1838 and 1939 after Andrew Jackson's Indian removal policy was confirmed. The Native Americans were forced to leave the land east of the Mississippi River. Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act was approved on May 8, 1830. It stated that all Native Americans east of the Mississippi River had to give up their land and relocate. This event is called the Trail of Tears because of the harsh journey to present day Oklahoma. These 5 American Indian tribes were marched at gunpoint to a land they knew nothing about. The Native Americans had to go through rough terrain, bad weather conditions, and were fed almost nothing. The total time it took to get to present day Oklahoma was 2 months. It was over 2,000 miles long. Every day they had to hike about 16 miles. Many people died on the trail from lack of nutrition and diseases. The young, the weak, and the elderly were the first to die on the Trail of Tears. The goal of the Trail of Tears was to eliminate or get rid of Native Americans while transporting them. The government wanted to get rid of the Native American culture and lifestyle, so they tried to make them more like white people. This meant that they were forced to practice U.S. traditions and look like everyone else. One way they did this to the children was in boarding schools. Boarding schools provided education to children on reservations, but it also got rid of their own culture and replaced it with U.S. traditions. Some things they did to strip their culture away from them was that they gave children haircuts, they made them wear American clothes, they renamed them, and they were forced to learn English. One major problem for young children was that they were separated from their parents. The government didn't want to pay for adults to become Americanized, so they only Americanized children because they would live longer. Children were easier to teach since they didn't know the difference from their culture. In conclusion, the Native Americans were and still are treated horrifically, from reservations to the Trail of Tears to boarding schools.